Lois Griffin may be a devoted wife on paper, but in practice, well, let's just say the paper's been through the shredder. Here is every time Lois Griffin cheated, or almost did.
Lois, is a president stronger than a king? What the hell?
Peter.
Episode opens with a casual family trip to the Quahog Aquarium, where Peter does the most Peter thing ever. He gets his ass handed to him by an octopus in the touch tank. Embarrassed and very much outmuscled by an invertebrate, Peter decides it's time to hit the gym and reclaim his dignity or whatever's left of it. Meanwhile, Brian's subplot kicks off, with Lois demanding he stop pooping on the lawn and learn to use the toilet like a civilized dog. Spoiler alert, Brian's about to commit a crime. Back at home, Clinton enters the chat. Literally. A limo with a flat tire pulls up in front of the Griffin's house, weighed down by what Clinton calls some fat chick party in the back. His bodyguards ask Peter for help with it, and being the man-child that he is, Peter tries lifting the limo and throws out his back. Flash forward to Peter in the hospital, contemplating his mortality. That's when he shows up. Slick, smooth, and apparently still irresistible. Bill freaking Clinton. He tells Peter age is just a number, and if you still party like a frat bro with diplomatic immunity, you can feel young forever. Peter's in. And so begins a midlife bromance filled with weed smoking, nightclub dancing, and pig stealing from a random farm because munchies. Lois, having had enough of this Clinton-fueled nonsense, decides to confront the man at his apartment. But instead of arguing, she ends up sleeping with him. No hesitation, no cutaway gag. Just pure ex-president pipe. And honestly, she doesn't even regret it at first. When Peter finds out, he's devastated. Lois, ever the negotiator, tells him he can sleep with anyone to even the score. Peter's choice? Babs. Yep, Lois's mom. And she's totally down for it because Carter hasn't touched her since the Bush administration. But before anything happens, Peter rushes back, declares his love for Lois, and they make up. Meanwhile, Brian fakes his toilet training by sitting on it anytime Lois walks by. But Stewie sees through the con and asks the question we all should have. Where does he actually go? Answer: the mayor's lawn. And the mayor thinks he has a sausage. Oh, and in a twist no one asked for, Peter visits Clinton one last time, and somehow ends up sleeping with him too. His reaction? Boy, you are good. Clinton's body count now includes both Griffins. That man could seduce a filing cabinet. This episode starts off like any other Family Guy day. Peter Griffin verbally body-slamming his wife's self-esteem. He spots a gray hair on Lois and decides that's his cue to launch a roast session so savage it could have earned a Netflix special. Enter Meg, proudly announcing she has a new boyfriend named Anthony. Naturally, the family assumes he's imaginary or disturbingly deformed, like her last boyfriend, Justin, who had to be pulled around in a red wagon. But surprise, Anthony's real, he's normal, and he's hot. So hot that all of Quahog comes to watch him hang out with Meg like he's the Pope. Even Dr. Hartman shows up to medically verify he doesn't have any creepy, Meg-attracting deformities. But things get messy fast. Anthony compliments Lois left and right, mentioning she looks like a movie star. You know, all the things Peter hasn't said since...
Has anybody ever told you you're pretty enough to be a movie star, Mrs. Griffin?
Oh my goodness, well, I don't know about that.
Ever. Lois starts soaking up the attention like a sponge in a wine spill. Meanwhile, Peter, ironically, starts developing a weird attraction to Meg, which is best we should not unpack. Meg and Anthony kiss, and Lois watches with the thirst of a cougar at a college mixer.
I bet you taste like Mountain Dew and Starburst.
So what does she do? She lies. Sends Meg on a fake errand to pick up her grandfather from the airport.
Grandpa always makes me so nervous when I'm driving.
Once Meg's out the door, Lois pounces. Anthony doesn't resist. In fact, he's into it. They start making out until Meg walks back in for her car keys and catches them mid-mouth collision. And just like that, Anthony's gone. Meg's traumatized, and Lois is firmly in the Worst Mom Ever Hall of Fame. Later, Lois tries to apologize, but it turns into a screaming match. Lois actually argues she could steal Anthony if she wanted to. Understandably, Meg loses her mind. Lois gets kicked out of the room but somehow blames Peter for her behavior. Peter, completely confused, admits he calls her old because he's insecure and actually thinks she's beautiful. Somewhere between apology and lust, They start doing it right on the bedroom floor. The episode kicks off with America's favorite pastime, Family Feud. The Griffins sign up when the show rolls into Quahog, and in classic form, Meg gets mistaken for a boy during the application. Somehow, they still get selected, which is wild considering the application probably asked for functional family as a requirement. Fast forward to game day. Lois, desperate for her moment in the spotlight, kisses the host, Richard Dawson, full on the lips. Says she's been waiting for years. Peter's standing there like, is this part of the game or just our marriage falling apart on national TV? The actual feud? A disaster. Peter, holding the final chance to win the $5,000, gets one job, say anything but chair. Naturally, he says chair over and over like it's the only word left in his brain.
Chair.
Try again.
Big chair.
No, that's the same thing. Try again.
High chair.
That's still a chair.
Chair.
Say something other than chair.
What if I can't think of anything?
You can pass.
How do I pass?
Just say it.
Say what?
Say pass.
Chair.
They lose the game, the money, and Peter's last shred of dignity. He tries to fight Richard Dawson, gets shoved, cracks his head on the podium, and boom, amnesia unlocked. With Peter not recognizing his own family, things go full cartoon chaos. Chris thinks he's invisible. Herbert starts circling the block like it's Christmas. Lois tries to jog his memory with their honeymoon video. Instead of recognizing her as his wife, Peter thinks she's a cute stranger and awkwardly confesses a crush. Yeah, it's giving daytime soap with a head injury. Lois becomes a full-time therapist/nanny. She teaches Peter how to use a phone, drive, play GTA. Even tries to remind him physically in bed, but he's clueless. Meg tries to make a sex joke and the family reacts like she farted during Grace. Then it gets wild. Peter, now living his best bachelor life, invites over a hooker named Tiffany. Lois, shattered, moves into a tiny apartment with the kids. Peter's throwing ragers while Lois has a sad dinner with Quagmire, who, let's be real, smells emotional vulnerability like a truffle pig. Quagmire plays it slow, until Lois ends up in his bed. She's about to go through with it, until she calls him a trusted friend. That word kills his mood faster than a cold shower in winter. While Lois is getting ready to seal the deal, Peter suddenly shows up. Turns out, after getting pounded by Ernie the giant chicken, again, Peter's memory came flooding back.
Chair for you. Wait a minute, who are you? Hey, I know you. What's your beef, stranger?
Brian found him and alerted him to the pending doom and Quagmire's inevitability. Peter and Lois reconcile just before she crosses the line, and Quagmire, left with his ropes, costumes, and a serious case of blue, everything. The episode kicks off with Chris building a beautiful little birdhouse, finally doing something that doesn't involve lotion and locked doors. Peter's actually impressed, so they hang it up together like a Hallmark moment. Then a family of birds shows up and immediately gets murdered by a falcon. Nature's a Savage sitcom too. Peter, inspired by this feathered murder machine, decides to get a falcon of his own. He names it Xerxes, because apparently Bird Who Ruins Lives was taken. Xerxes does what Xerxes does best, wreak havoc. One attack later, a Jewish biker gets robbed of his motorcycle, sues the Griffins, and suddenly the family is so broke they'd have to rent out their cutaway gags for cash. Desperate to help, Lois finds a job. Voiceover work. Sounds wholesome, right? Nope. She ends up as a phone sex operator, raking in $2,000 a week, whispering dirty fantasies to lonely perverts with cartoon-level fetishes. She hates it, but girls got bills. Meanwhile, Peter's desperate for affection and, naturally, turns to Quagmire. Quagmire gives him the number of his favorite phone sex girl, who really understands men.
There's this new phone sex chick I've been calling, and she is amazing.
Gee, I don't know. Isn't that cheating on Lois?
Oh, look, it's over the phone. It's like they say, phoning ain't boning.
So Peter calls, and guess who answers? That's right, Lois. She recognizes his voice instantly but stays in character, probably because the money's that good. During the call, Lois tries to test Peter by asking about his day. Peter, being Peter, goes silent, like a guilty dog caught with a shoe in its mouth. He then asks to meet the mystery woman, thinking he's about to pull a side piece out of thin air. After some hesitation and a quick chat with Bonnie, Lois, ever the professional, agrees. Peter pretends he's on a business trip to Chicago, books a cheap motel, and shows up all slick and clueless. Lois arrives in disguise like a budget Carmen Sandiego, and after a little awkward role play, the two end up doing the nasty anyway. Yep, Peter unknowingly cheats on Lois with Lois. Afterward, Lois dramatically rips off her wig and slaps Peter into next week. They argue, obviously. But Peter, with all the charm of a man who just committed marital fraud, convinces her he still only wants her, even if it took anonymous phone sex and motel banging to figure it out. It's almost Lois's birthday, and she's not taking it well. While everyone else sees cake and candles, she sees crow's feet and early onset menopause. When she groans about getting older, Brian suggests the family throw her a surprise birthday party to lift her spirits. Great idea, until Peter Griffin gets involved. So, what does Peter do? Sends her on a fake grocery store errand into the middle of the freaking desert, just so they can prep the house. Pete Griffin hospitality. Then, during the party, Peter stands up and gives a speech so brutally honest it could have been ghost-written by a divorce lawyer. He calls her an old mare whose youthful days are long gone.
Mountain peaks have become a barren, strip-mined, muddy landslide that droops ever downward. What were once pink and succulent rose petals now take the form of the shredded, raggedy, blown-out end piece of a practical joker's exploding cigar.
Lois runs off crying like someone just canceled her Netflix subscription mid-binge. But the next morning? Oh, Lois is back, baby. Only now she looks like she robbed Forever 21 and snorted the 90s. She pulls up in a Jeep Wrangler, rocking crop tops, glitter, and slang so outdated it circles back to cool. Brian, always the one to state the obvious, calls it. She's having a full-blown midlife crisis. And then, it gets weird. She gets a tattoo, starts grinding on Peter in the laundry room while throwing out words that would get bleeped twice on cable. She drags him to nightclubs, graffiti sessions, and drug-fueled joyrides through K-Hog. Peter, understandably, is exhausted. Lois storms off with her new squad of TikTok rejects, and where does she end up? A Justin Bieber fan convention. Yes, Lois Griffin, mother of 3, is now full-on fangirling over a teenage pop star. She bribes her way backstage with Pinkberry, because of course she does, and literally climbs Justin Bieber like a jungle gym. She's seconds away from pulling down his pants and giving new meaning to the phrase "belieber" when Peter crashes in like a wrecking ball. One punch to the Biebs and a sweaty love confession later, Lois finally snaps out of it. Peter admits he loves her just as she is, crow's feet and all. And Justin? Probably filed a restraining order before he hit the stage again. Lois didn't just flirt with cheating here. She almost traumatized an international pop star. Midlife crisis or criminal record, you decide.